Aloha and welcome to Conversations to Enlighten and Heal. I'm your host, KG Stiles. Conversations is sponsored by Pure Plant Essentials, Organic Aromatherapy. On the show, Conversations is about getting the support you need to explore loving paths to your own awakening, wholeness, and freedom. On the show, I talk with some of our world's most acclaimed teachers and experts in the fields of astrology, metaphysical healing, consciousness, and spirituality. As I said, Conversations is sponsored by Pure Plant Essentials, Organic Aromatherapy. All of our oils are genuine healing oils, GCMS tested for purity. Please click the on-screen link after the show to check out our line of organic aromatherapy products and let others know about us. I wanted to thank each and every one of you for your continuing support of the show and making your energetic contributions, whether through ordering products and services or by liking, sharing, subscribing, and Google Plusing the show. Whether large or small, your contributions matter and are much appreciated. Thanks for being here. For podcast lovers, there will be a link to download our iTunes show below this video. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Molly, Apple, and Joe Dunn. Molly and Joe are relationship coaches, lovers, and best friends. Their best-selling book, The Soulmate Experience, A Practical Guide to Creating Extraordinary Relationships, won an International Book Awards Gold Medal and a Living Now Awards Silver Medal. The Soulmate Experience has helped thousands of people around the world to create deeply connected relationships. Molly and Joe just released the sequel, The Soulmate Lover, a guide to passionate and lasting love, sex, and intimacy. On today's show, Molly and Joe will talk about conscious romantic love and how to connect for lasting love. From finding out how to attract a partner who is ready for a deeply intimate relationship to how to create sizzle with your partner that burns for years, Molly and Joe have the answers for you. You'll learn how to energize your spirit and heal your emotional and sexual connections so you connect more deeply in the present and with future love. As an additional treat to sweeten this extraordinary show, I'll look at the astrology charts of these two soulmate lovers and uncover gems about connecting with your soulmates that spell true love and romance. If finding new love and rekindling your love connections is on your radar, then you don't want to miss this fascinating show. Please join me in welcoming to the show Molly, Apple, and Joe Dunn. Welcome to the show, Molly and Joe. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, KG. Nice to be here.
Thrilled to be talking to you again.
Yeah, so in your book, you describe what men learn in an expensive seduction seminar, and you adapt these ideas for everyone to use to make a real connection with someone. Will you give us an example?
Yeah, first of all, yes, just that whole thing, I've been fascinated by this for years, that people will spend $3,000 for 2 or 3 days of going out and learning how to pick up women, and I was just wanted to know, what are they teaching them, what are they learning? And so I interviewed a couple of people, did a lot of research, and it turns out that the things they're teaching them are extremely basic things that are useful for everybody if we use them with an intention to make a connection, not necessarily to score. So,
so one of the things that they might suggest to you is to pick something to believe in yourself, a thought that you can hold. For instance, like every woman here wants me, right?
So you're supposed to walk into the place thinking that over and over.
Right, and that's supposed to make it easier for you to make a connection, I guess. But I think for us to maybe make a little bit of a shift in that thought and maybe use something like something that you can believe in readily, such as, I'm likable, I'm friendly, I'm easy to make a connection with. I think that will give you a more authentic belief in yourself than, some idea that like every woman in here wants me, which is probably not the case.
So we actually, while we were developing these ideas, we actually had some people go out and try them. So they've been vetted. It's been a very interesting process for us to hear back of what happens when you walk into a singles club, repeating a mantra to yourself like, I'm a good person and somebody here is going to want to connect with me. That it really does make you feel a lot more comfortable, sort of quell the nervousness that's natural when you go into a situation like that.
So what advice do you have for how to meet someone who is ready for a deeply connected, conscious relationship?
You know, when I consider that question, I always go back to, if Joe weren't around, if he got hit by the beer truck, as he likes to say, you know, what would I do in this day and age to go find another partnership that's connected like this one is?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do?
Well, I think I would look for a place where I'd be most likely to meet someone of that type. We go up to a hot springs. It's a couple hours north of San Francisco, and we always are meeting, very conscious people in the restaurant and having great conversations with them. So I'd probably, if Molly weren't around, I'd probably pack my car and head up for some camping in a place like that.
Yeah, or there's a lot of great meetup groups. I get alerts on them because I want to know what's going on for singles around where we live. And there's so many meetup groups that have a theme that it seems to me, the kind of person I'm looking for would be attracted to this or to that. So I think I'd do that rather than going online. There's so many people who are disappointed with their experiences online. So going to a place where like-minded people gather would be my number one step.
Yeah.
So yes, and I think also it's pretty light-hearted. There's no commitment to it. You don't have to not go with any expectations. Just to be open that you're meeting people and you're mingling and you're getting the energy for. Do you have any sort of insights about conversation, sort of positive conversation starters that are a little bit not so the ordinary, that help to start a conversation with people?
The ordinary.
I don't like the ordinary. I really do like to very quickly get into conversations that go beneath the surface, because that's where I'm going to find out very quickly if there's something there for me with this person. So there's a couple of things. One is that I'm not hesitant to talk about what I'm passionate about, because if I see interest and feel interest in what I'm passionate about, there's definitely more of a chance that we're going to have a connection than if the person's like, oh, you're into weird stuff. I'm going to talk about good. I'd rather know that right away. So small talk is not something I do easily or for very long.
Not at all. Which is great. I mean, I think it's great to get that small talk out of the way and go right to something deeper.
Be willing to go out on a limb and show a little bit about who you are right away. Why waste time? I think I was just going to say,
it's interesting you mentioned that about, that's one of the conversation starters in Science of People up in Portland, that they say is, one of their conversation starters is, what have you done that you're passionate about lately?
Yeah.
And I think truly listening, one of the ways to get there easily is because so many times we're thinking about what we're going to say next, or all of that nonsense that keeps us from really being present when somebody's talking, is just to remind yourself of, oh, what does the world look like through this person's eyes? And to really get into their space immediately and feel what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the chapter, Sex and the Practice of Being Present, you talk about the problems of sexpectations. What exactly are sexpectations, and how can we let go of them?
Well, sexpectations to us is when you're going into, a sexual relationship with, expectations about how that, interaction is going to go. And I think that anytime when you're focused on the event and what's going to happen, you're not going to be connected to your partner. And I mean, that's one thing that I think is a negative. And the other thing is that if it doesn't go as you planned, you're likely to be disappointed. So, we try to keep those expectations down to a minimum. And in fact, if we can go into it without specific ideas about how it's going to go, I think we're going to be much better off.
I think these kinds of expectations about what's going to happen, so many of them, we're not even aware we have them. It's things we've grown up with. For instance, base 1, base 2, base 3, we have this consciousness that sex is this linear thing that goes from here to here to here, instead of being like a painting that can go anywhere. So to bring awareness to, do I have any thoughts about what's going to happen, and see what it's like to let go of those.
Mm-hmm.
Without an anticipation of anything in particular happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as an explorer. So I think we have a little tool that I came up with when you're having sex, making love, and you find your mind wandering, which I think, as far as I can tell, is extremely common with almost everyone for whatever reason. But I came up with a really quick little 4-question checklist that takes me about 10 seconds to ask myself slowly, am I relaxed? Am I breathing? Am I present? And am I having fun? That was yours.
Yeah.
And when we've tried this to ask ourselves, and it immediately brings us back down into our bodies.
Yeah,
into
focuses you right where you are in the present, you know, without going off somewhere else or about some other idea. It really brings you here now.
Yeah, I could feel that. You know, I could felt really good. I felt like I was becoming embodied. And it's, you know, physical experience. You know, it's a sensual experience. So you need to be in your body, not in your head, or often you're some fantasy or
and they're easy.
Whatever. So
take it down to just 4 words, like relaxed, breathing.
So let's talk a little bit more about that and explore a little bit more about the whole thing of sensuality, sexuality, and how this keeps us sexually vibrant and live and physically healthy. Give us some ideas how we can do that, how that all fits together.
I think we were talking yesterday. You remember this conversation?
Remind me.
That you were saying that our sexual connection is like a part of our everyday interaction.
Right. It's like we keep that sexual energy going almost without even thinking about it. It's not really a conscious thought that we're having to keep the sexual energy going. It's just like a dance that we do that happens whether we're in the bedroom or not. And it keeps this life in our connection. I think part of it is, we were talking yesterday about how all sexual topics are open to us to discuss. Something that I actually like to call having oral sex. When I was young and I first started reading things from my father's drawer that I wasn't supposed to be reading, I read about oral sex, and I was probably 10, and for like 2 or 3 years, I thought that meant talking about sex. And now I really think, if couples can have oral sex all the time, their sex life is going to be much more interesting. And much more connected.
and you know, sometimes that's scary. If one of the things that might come up to talk about is, you know, Joe came home yesterday and said he went to the pool, which he does
5 days a week.
5 days a week. Said there were 1 person in each lane, so he had to pick a lane to get into. He picked the one that had the woman in a bikini to get into. Now, if he wasn't able to come home and tell me that, and he'd do that like a lot of guys would, but they wouldn't come home and tell their partner. What happens if he couldn't come home and tell me?
Yeah, and that excitement, that life that, you know, I'm experiencing, that little piece of life, I can't share with my partner. So it goes nowhere. In fact, it detracts from our relationship because it's something that I have to keep separate or hidden, right? And anytime I'm taking any energy keeping something separate from her, then I can't enjoy it as much. She can't enjoy it at all, but then there's some disconnect between us.
Disconnect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And feelings of guilt can creep in, I think, that you're doing something, there's something wrong. Why aren't you able to speak about it? I mean, if you feel, I don't know, it just seems like you're developing a deeper intimacy and trust.
Right. And I think, you know, in our first book, one of the chapters is called Transforming the Energy of Jealousy. And it was something that we worked with a lot to feel that energy that comes up, to allow it, to heal it. And that's what that chapter is all about, is working with each other to heal these places where what's natural is, what's not natural, but what's normal is for us to have some idea that we're not enough. And so if our partner comes home and says, oh yeah, I got and swam with this woman in a bikini, we'll instantly go to this, I'm not enough, she must be better way. And so the concept of healing that together is a big part of our second book, The Art of Sexual Healing, so that we can use those experiences to
basically keep our sex life exciting, our whole life exciting, not just our sex life. So,
well, tell us a little bit more about the art of sexual healing. You explore how couples can use their sexual connection to transform sexual challenges into opportunities for heart opening and erotic pleasure. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think it's, if so many of us have some issues around sexuality, right? It's very few of us, I think, are exempt completely. And I think if you're connected to your partner and you're open and loving, then pretty much anything can be healed, between the two of you.
And it's that healing process, that looking at it together, finding ways to work with it together. It's so incredibly intimate. Like that makes sex way more connecting than just going through the base 1, base 2,
right.
Base 3. They don't have the healing base.
Right, exactly. And if you've ever been in a relationship where your partner has been able to heal something of yours sexually or to help you heal it yourself, there's just this enormous amount of gratitude that it doesn't stop, right? It pretty much just keeps going, right? Once you've had an experience like that, that gratitude just continues to go. And it makes it easier to bring other things up too that you might have, resisted talking about.
So a lot of this is around not necessarily like a physical problem you have, although we definitely explore how sexual healing can be used in those cases too. But most often it's a negative self-belief we have about our bodies, our sexuality, our attractiveness, our anything. And for me, coming into this relationship, I was raised by a father who was classic women with, curves and bodacious bodies. And I'm the skinny little girl at his feet, watching the television going, now there's a woman. I'm like, I have no chance in this life. I'm never going to look like that. And to have this person come along going, you are absolutely perfect just the way you are, and I'm not just going to say that, but I'm going to make love to you and repeat this to you and make love to whatever body part you think is insufficient until you can feel the truth of your perfection. Absolutely amazing. I will go on being imperfect so that I continue to have that experience.
Well, that sounds very healing, very healing. And I think everyone has something they feel they're not good enough about, or that's, somehow they're less than, or so we all are deepening in our own self-love and self-acceptance. And when we have someone else who will witness that for us, help us to embody that, and help us see that about ourselves, I just think that's a beautiful, sacred relationship.
Yeah.
And AG, there is, I love that word you just used, witnessing your own healing, because it's not just when I'm with him anymore. It's definitely something you walk away and you own some new conception of yourself. Like it's been something he's actually helped me totally own. I feel totally different about myself than I did before I met him. And in that amount of time, I'm older, and yet I feel more positive about myself than I ever did. So it's really a gift that you take with you. So
how long have you been together now? And would you tell us a little bit about your story? Just a brief bit so people who don't know of how you guys came together? It's kind of I guess not as unusual as it would have been in prior years, but it's still pretty unusual.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on 12 years together now. And, you know, I think we are more in love every day than, you know, we were and at any point along the relationship.
Since we met on Craigslist, which is not the most common place for people to meet, but I think one of the things that we both were attracted to that forum for was there were no
checklists, no boxes,
no questionnaire, no nothing you had to say. It's very open. It's a blank screen. You put whatever you want, and also we started out with a dialogue about relationships that lasted for about a month back and forth before we ever met. But we didn't exchange photos either, and neither we had a conversation about it a couple of times. But we really liked the idea of not exchanging photos and not having that be the basis for whether we were interested or not.
Yeah.
So the basis had to be something else other than physical attractiveness.
And it's a great thing that it was, because you know, back then, way back then, I was pretty sure that I was not attracted to redheads. So wandering in the bookstore, you know, for the first time and meeting Molly, the redhead, I was taken aback, you know, and yet we had developed this relationship over that month time by email, maybe a call or two. And so, you know, I was already sold, you know, I just had to get over this idea that I had that I wasn't attracted to redheads. Nowadays, I mean, my head turns every time I see a redhead because I know the potential.
You know the stories are true.
I know the stories are true, yeah. So for us, that's the perfect way to meet. Couldn't have been better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had a similar experience because if I had filled out boxes on a dating site, I know that one of the things I would have said was, okay, I want somebody who has a college education. And I would have never met this guy. And he's the most naturally intelligent person I've ever met. And just because he doesn't have a piece of paper to tell you that, I mean, now it seems crazy that I wouldn't have met you.
Yeah, if I'd read that she had 5 degrees, I probably wouldn't have answered her ad.
So that's wonderful. So it's kind of an interesting story behind this special edition. You have a special edition cover for your book. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
When I was turning 50, I had what I wanted for my 50th birthday was a nude photo shoot with Joe. There's a photographer called Jasper Johal who does nude yoga photos. Anybody who's seen Yoga Magazine has seen his work. Gorgeous, black and white. And I wanted something done like that. So my photographer friend came over here and did a photo shoot with us. And one of my yoga teachers was here. Basically, all she did was help me relax. And when I saw this photo, when the photographer sent me the proofs and I saw this photo, I just was like stunned by it. This should be on the cover of a book. And then I found out that it's really not acceptable to put even a very artistic, beautiful photograph on the cover of a book if it shows a nipple. Well, a woman's nipple.
Yeah.
Men's nipples are fine. So we decided to put it on the cover of a book.
Yeah. But I have to get it.
Yeah. It's right there, babe.
Oh, there it is. Here it is. Can you see that?
Lift it up a little bit more. Lift it up a little more.
How's that?
There you go. We can see it.
And the response has been amazing.
Yes.
And I would have to say so healing to me, just still if I had any misgivings about, I've always pretty much been comfortable in my skin, but society's weirdness around sexuality and nudity. I mean, the things that we are allowed to see, for instance, on Facebook or Amazon, the things that they are allowed to show that could be very raunchy, could be very violent are okay, but something beautiful and tasteful is not okay. There's a real disconnect there in terms of sexuality, and so I'm really proud of this cover. Happy we did it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You should be very proud of it.
When we had a book party a few weeks ago, and we gave people the choice, it was 9 out of 10 took the hardcover book.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You were telling me there is some sort of free the nipple movement that's happening now or something you became aware of?
There is. There's a big movement called Free the Nipple for allowing, again, men's images, no matter how large their chest or breasts are, their nipples are okay to be shown, but a woman, no matter how flat-chested, is not. There's something inherently
wrong
about that.
Perceived wrong.
Yes.
Not wrong, obviously, but perceived. It's a perception.
Yeah, and even when I was young, I remember wondering about it. It didn't make sense to me. My mother raised me pretty liberally, and when I realized, I was probably 8 or 9 when I was out. I lived in an entire neighborhood of boys, out playing baseball in the summer. I was not developed. I was a skinny, tiny little thing. We were playing in the hot sun, playing baseball with our shirts off, and a friend and her mother drove by. And the friend told me later at school, her mother said she was never allowed to play with me again because I was outside without a shirt on. So this has been something I've been very touchy about my whole life. I am outside without a shirt on.
Well, I'm looking forward. Do you have anything else you'd like to share? I'd like to look at, I'm going to look at your astrology chart and talk a few things that I'm seeing in your chart. So
I've been
wondering else you'd like to share?
Yeah, so is that one way we're supposed to meet somebody, is to check out their astrology chart before we say hello so that we know we're compatible? Or
no, I wouldn't. I mean, I think, basically your chart should only be mirroring what it is you intuitively know. Okay. It's just going to affirm what it is, and it'll more pinpoint, and it, like when I was going over the charts with you, I said, is this, I'm checking in with you. Is this something I'm seeing this? Is this something, you know what I'm saying? So it helps you clarify and maybe even, and help to activate and develop that aspect more, brings it more into your awareness. But it's, a lot of times if it doesn't resonate for you, then maybe it's not time for you to even bring that into your awareness. So you should just let it fall away, and then another opportunity may come in the future where that will come into your awareness and you're ready to work with it more consciously, and it will help you to evolve those aspects. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe in putting anything on, like you should fit into this box, or you should, it's not like that.
Right.
It should feel like it's in harmonious alignment, and it just helps you to come into more of our alignment with your authentic being. It shouldn't be something that in any way replaces, undermines, or any of that. It should feel like it's harmonious. It's a tool for you that helps you with your evolution of consciousness. So yeah, it's not it in no way. Yeah, and I think some people look to it like it's something that's going to save them, that's outside of them. These forces are operating inside of you. The cosmic forces, the moment when you're born, you're like imprinted. Those forces, those planetary alignments, those celestial events are, you're just mirroring as above, so below, as within, so without. So it's a mirroring that's happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to look at your two charts and see. I kind of reviewed things with you before we. Okay, let me get them both up here. It was very interesting, the two charts when I look at them. I was quite blown away. One of the things when you were talking about your whole thing that went on, that illumination, this awareness you had about, with you not wearing a shirt and how this mother had said her child couldn't play with you, that would be a reflection of the Moon Venus opposition, where that's a disconnect, and Joe has the same thing in his chart. And I mean, that's very unusual. I mean, that's something that both of you share, that you have this opposition between the Moon and Venus, so that, there's this illumination of, this awareness of the feminine. And Venus is about pleasure. So, and enjoyment, there's this awakening, illumination, and opposition is always about illumination and awakening. So both of you have this need to awaken in this lifetime to more of these, to more pleasure, to more of the feminine. And these, people can be in a struggle with this kind of energy, or it can be something that it's like the work of the initiate, the work of someone who is awakening, is to integrate the opposites. So I see this as both of you helping you in development of consciousness. I mean, you guys are working with these energies beautifully, how you're using them to awaken yourself, as well as then teach and share them with other people so that they awaken to how there's a disconnect.
That really makes a lot of sense, because one of the chapters in our new book is accessing your masculine and feminine energies. And it really is about everybody being able to access all of those qualities so they can be, as Chinese philosophers call it, a complete human being.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So, I'm going to just kind of go around the chart. There's so many connections. It's just incredible. And that's what you'll find when you do. And I don't think you should immediately look at somebody's chart, but before I think it's a good thing to look at the chart at some point when you have, been with each other and you're really thinking of a serious commitment. You need to look at everything, because, when you're entering a commitment, sometimes you can be in that glow of a projection of what it is you want. It doesn't sound like you guys were there. You were more into being real about things. You were really playing it very real from the very beginning, so that you weren't in the projection, so that you weren't, setting things up so that you were getting what you thought you wanted. You know what I'm saying? You're really looking for something real and to share an intimacy with someone. So I think that you were really wanting to have the blinders on. Some people, I think, are wanting to fall in love with love. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but the chart can help you see where you're going to have, challenges, so that you can see things that maybe you haven't wanted to be aware of, that maybe are red flags in the relationship. So in some cases, that can be the case. So, all right. So we have, both of you have a Sagittarius ascendant. And so that means how you are in life, the way you want to be, you want to show up in life is alike. You're both very playful. This would be playmate energy, where you like to play together, where you like to have adventures together. There's a real recognition, that you've met somebody that is your playmate. It's going to be fun playing with this person and enjoying having adventures with this person. This person is going to open your mind. Sag is about opening the mind. It's the higher mind. It's higher education. It's where you're both teaching each other and you're helping each other be better, be your best self, kind of a thing.
Oh, you keep reflecting everything we've put in our books. That was our chapter called Playing Leapfrog in the Soulmate Experience, was about exactly that.
Yes.
Seeing each other's capability and helping them to reach it. Yeah.
Yes. Another thing I'm seeing is that your South Node, which is past life, is at 0 degrees Aries, which is, that is the beginning seed point of initiation. That Aries initiates the spring. It's this very potent, powerful energy of birth. And it's conjunct. Your South nodes are conjunct. That means your North nodes are conjunct. So the opposite house would be Libra, which is the relationship house. So that's where you're going. So you have all this energy and impulse for birthing, and then it's going towards the relationship house, which is, relationship. It's creating harmonious relationship.
So our babies are books about relationship, harmonious relationships. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so there's all that energy to put into relationship that you're freeing up. That, you know, I mean, there's that strong past life connection. The South Node is your past life. So, and then you have your Venus and Mars are conjunct. I mean, that is the classic hookup. The Mars Venus, you know, being conjunct. Your Molly's Venus is conjunct Joe's Mars. So that's the feminine and the masculine, you know, coming together and joining. They are also conjunct the second house, which is in Capricorn. Capricorn, there's not another sign that's more committed, that's going to succeed no matter what. It has the staying power. It has the perseverance to see things through. So, and it's right at the cusp. So it's like, you know, it's a very strong initiation point for relationship. It's also, a lot of times we do see our partners, the people we partner with, one of their personal planets, one of their close personal planets, their sun, their moon, their Mercury, their Venus, their Mars, is in that second house often. This is, you know, we have this is our connected with our personal finances. This person is very connected with our personal finances. So that's very strong for a relationship that's going to come together and have staying power. You also have your Molly's sun in Aquarius is conjunct Joe's Mercury in, Molly's sun in Aquarius, I think I said that, is conjunct Mercury, Joe's Mercury in Aquarius. So it's like Joe finishes, you know, and easily communicates what is the soul essence, the soul life force, the will force, what is your natural, authentic way of being in life, Molly. You know, Joe wants to communicate that, wants to help you connect that with the world, wants to, you know, so there's this strong energy for communication, for publishing, for putting it out there in a connected way. And this is in the third house of communication. And of course, Aquarius is very, you know, it's a very innovative, it's out of the box. It's, you know, the things you're talking about, you know, and sharing. All right. So, and then also Molly's Jupiter is conjunct. I mean, it's incredible, all these hookups you guys have. I mean, this is unusual. I mean, you see it in people who are really connected, especially in families or close personal relationships, like me and my son have all these kind of very strong hookups. But it's not common in everybody's chart. If you have one hookup, you know what I'm saying, that can be an indication. The more hookups you have that are these positive, you know, hookups aspects, then the more staying power, you know, this relationship. There's just a lot in this relationship that's going to keep it together. There's a lot you have here that you're doing together on a personal level, on your own inner work that you're doing together, on your own personal inner work, your work as a couple, as well as what you have to share with the world. And so this Jupiter of Molly's just makes Joe feel good all the time. Joe feels so good being around Molly. I mean, she just opens him up and he just is relaxed and feeling good and life is good. And I mean, that's a really good. And that's in the fourth house. It's the home, you know? So, I mean, that's just wonderful. I don't know what else to say about that one, but my son actually, his Jupiter is on my sun in the fourth house. So, I mean, it's that same thing. I just feel good when I'm around him. You know, it's like, you know, I can remember when he was coming to his adolescence and he wanted to argue with me about something. I mean, you know, that's the adolescent thing. You know, they want to come into their whole that whole energy of, you know, that whole getting their, you know, that whole teenage thing of that whole energy you've got going on about being right and having it, you know, this tussle kind of energy. You want to kind of tussle, you know. And he was trying to do that with me, and I just looked at him and I said, I can't do this. I said, I can't argue with you. I love you. I don't. You'll have to do that with your dad. I just had no energy for it. I just loved him, and he just looked at me and he says, Mom, why do you have to be so understanding? You know, it's like I just couldn't do it. I just had, all I wanted to do was just love him. I didn't want to get into any, you know, any tussles with him or any disagreements or whatever. It's like I didn't have any disagreement bone about it in my body, in our relationship. You know, I just had love, you know, and it was because I knew what was going on with him. You know, I knew that was what he was needing, you know, and I told him he didn't have to do that with me. He could just go ahead and be a man and go ahead and, you know, whatever he needed to do at this point, you know, I'd support him. You know, we didn't have to do that. So that was it. That was his teenage years with his mom.
Wow.
So we didn't have any struggles or anything through the teenage years, which I hear are horrendous for a lot. You know, I know a lot of my friends have just really gone through such horrendous things with their children coming into their adolescence. So, so anyway, I think that says what that whole Jupiter conjunct the sun, what kind of effect that has. Then also we have another nice conjunction. Molly's Mars is conjunct Pluto-Jupiter from your ninth house. You're both in the ninth house. It's Leo. There's all this creativity, publishing. There's regeneration. That Pluto rules sex, sexuality, intimacy. Jupiter is there, so Jupiter makes you feel good. You know, that's her eroticism. Mars is your erotic nature, your drive, you know, that masculine. You know, we all have that masculine, you know, masculine, feminine energies like you were talking about, and your masculine drive is very, you know, Joe regenerates that, so you're going to stay eternally young. You know, with that masculine drive of yours, you're always going to feel connected with your sexuality and your drive for sex because of that connection with Joe. He's just going to just keep encouraging you. That Jupiter, you know, okay, let's, you know, keep it coming, Molly. So, so that's another really juicy thing you have going on there. You put that into your publishing, into your books, the creativity, the writing.
I think.
Okay. And then there was another one that I saw here that is, I mean, one's not more than another, I guess, but this is in the past life, the 12th house. It's a Scorpio house. Sex, intimacy, the 8th house of regeneration. Both of you have Neptune there. And Neptune is your ideal. That is the dream come true. And this is past life connection. This is, you know, you had some strong past life together. There was some ideal, you know, you probably have actually been in other realms together as well. I mean, Neptune really is otherworldly. It's not just in this life, but you've probably been together and are together. You know, you're a multi-dimensional couple. I guess that's a way to say it, that you actually are connected on multiple dimensions of your being. You know, so the way you relate and connect with each other is very transcendent. There's a depth of, you know, but you have this heavenly thing going on, angelic thing going on there, as well as this very physical, very physical, intimate, embodied experience.
Yeah.
So that's some of the things I'm seeing. You know, I think that's a lot. Quite honestly. I mean, you know, I mean, some people do have quite a few connections that are these really long time, especially like between fathers and, you know, the parents and the children. There can be, when there's that strong love bond, that doesn't always happen between parents and children. You know, I mean, so, you know, but there, it can be in the chart, the conflict, and exactly, you know, one of the things I help people with is how to relate differently. I mean, some of your biggest fears really are opportunities for your greatest pleasures, your greatest opportunities can come through these illuminations you can have through the struggles you have in life or the conflicts you have in life. And it's being able to, because we get into these fixed perceptions about how we're seeing our life, and we really need to open up, which is what you guys do so beautifully and have done in your relationship, how you open things up so that you're not just stuck in this narrow, blind alleyway of how you have to be in partnership. You know, the Jupiter energy in your chart, the Sagittarius rising, you know, you really you want it to be an adventure. You want to have fun. You want to play. You want to have a good time in this lifetime. You don't want it to be, yeah, you want to give form, you know. I mean, Saturn is right there on your ascendant, you know, so it makes you kind of mature even, or serious about having fun, Joe.
Yeah.
You know, real commitment to having fun and playing in life.
And one of the important things about that is anything you do can have that quality. So it doesn't mean that we're just going out and having fun all the time, but we went to a funeral a couple days ago, and just to feel the honor of being able to be there in this life passage with somebody and all their friends there, and, you know, feeling it very deeply and just feeling like, wow, it's really amazing to be alive and to have these kinds of experiences and to really get the most out of them, even one like that. You know, that there's depth there, and there's ways we can connect in a situation like that. You know? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it just expands it even more. I mean, that's what that Sag energy is always going to expand things. It's going to help you continue to expand even more. So it's beautiful. I mean, you know, I think you guys have just a wonderful, beautiful journey in this life and what you're sharing together. And it's, you know, I just want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Conversations to Enlighten and Heal. Just to mention, we had a hard time getting on live, so we didn't do the live show. We just recorded privately on our own. We're going to put it up on YouTube, and everyone, you're welcome to leave your questions, and Molly and Joe, I'm sure you guys are going to kind of tune in over the next week or so and see if there are any questions and answer people's questions if they have any. So I wanted to just remind everyone to subscribe so you never miss a show. We are taking a little bit of break from Conversations until the 1st of July. My next free Conversations webinar show will be on the Venus retrograde and new Venus synodic cycle starting this summer, which is all about restarting relationship. We're just about coming up here on this conjunction between Juno and Jupiter, which is like a recommitment, a re-engagement of the, you know, those are the symbols. Jupiter and Juno are symbols of the husband and the wife. And it's like, so we have an opportunity for reconnecting and having that matrimonial bliss within our own selves and with people in our lives. I mean, that's the energy that's on tap for the rest of this year. Venus is going to do this retrograde. We're going to talk about this July 1st. Renowned shamanic astrologer Kaylin Castell will be on to talk about Venus retrograde and the new Venus synodic cycle that's being ushered in. We're going to experience for the next 18 months or so, and what that means for you and our collective world consciousness. And then on July 8th, renowned Vedic astrologer and Tarot master Mo Abdelbaki will be back on to talk about Venus retrograde from the Vedic and Tarot perspective. So click the on-screen link I'll leave here for you so you can receive an invitation reminder for these upcoming Conversations free webinar shows. Have a beautiful day, everyone. A warm mahalo. Much love to you. Wishing you happy days always. Thanks again so much, Molly and Joe. It's been such a pleasure having you with us.
Thanks, KG. It's been fun as always.
Until next time, relax, enjoy your life, and stay connected.